In this video, I'm going to talk about an interesting micro trend that you probably won't hear anyone else talking about yet. Not GCN, not Bike Radar, and that is the Utilifork. Find out what a Utilifork is and if it's right for you in this video. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you love bikes but aren't interested in the competitive side of cycling but love gravel cycling, commuting, the supple life, and you have found your people, hit that subscribe button. So I talked a little bit about the idea of the Utilifork with Toffer in our last Bikes and Bourbon episode, but it might have gotten buried if you didn't listen to it all the way through to the end. So I'm just going to talk about it really quickly in this video as the interesting trend I'm seeing in 2019, which will help bikes become more supple. So I think in the mountain biking realm, it's a little bit more common to have different kinds of forks and swap them out on a more regular basis. But in terms of road and touring and gravel cycling, typically you just live with the fork that you're dealt with on the bike. But if the bike you bought doesn't have any braze-ons whatsoever and you want to take it touring or light bike packing, you've been kind of SOL until I think this year. So the Utilifork, I'm totally making up that name, that hashtag word, whatever, is basically a high performance fork that you can add on to a gravel bike or a road bike aftermarket, giving it more utility, more ability to carry things. Whether that's the addition of 3-pack mounts, lowrider mounts, rando rag mounts, whatever. So you're probably wondering, why is this necessary? Well, last year I reviewed a ton of gravel bikes which were super fun to ride, but missed that utility up in the front. You know, a bike that really quickly comes to mind is the Kona Rogue NRB DL. Fun riding bike, good balance between liveliness and stability, but totally lacked any ability to carry things on the front of the bike. And if it did, it probably would have taken the most supple bike of the year award, but it didn't. But now, friends, there are options, and lots of interesting options at that. One fork I did get to try out on a review bike was the Hunter Gatherer fork. It's a cool steel segmented design, and it has fitments for a lowrider rack, rando rack, and fender mount. In addition to that, there are 3 carbon options, believe it or not. A small bike brand, Bear Claw, based in Michigan, has come out with their gravel fork, which has lots of clearance and has ability to carry some things, but not all the things. Does not, unfortunately, look like it can take lowrider mounts. Would have loved to see that, but it is cool that you can add some front carrying capability to a bike aftermarket. Another fork in that same vein is this fork by Fixation. Again, gravel, allows you to carry some bike packing gear, but no, you can't use traditional lowrider mounts with it. I think perhaps the most interesting and feature-rich Utilifork in the carbon category would have to be the Spork by Radiolab. Their latest iteration of the Spork is pretty unique. They've made it so you can swap out the dropouts, so depending on the diameter of through axle that you're using, it will accommodate that. It will be future-proof. In addition, you can also swap out different things like fender mounts on the bottom of the fork. So if you want to run things in the future like a tubeless front rack, you can do that. Really hoping to try out one of their complete bikes in the spring, so fingers crossed. So in the big picture, what I really think that's interesting about the rise of the Utilifork is that I feel like a signal that there are other people like me, like us, that want a lively ride, but also want to carry things. Just because we have a need to carry some things on the bike doesn't mean we want a full-blown touring bike. Frankly, I hope there are going to be more steel options, because as much as I like a carbon fork, in the back of my head, if I'm doing any kind of really rugged long-term touring, there is a little bit more peace of mind for me with a steel fork. So I know the die-hard racers among us probably are going to cringe at looking at all the new kind of adventure nipples on the fork, but for everyone else that may want to carry things on the bike, it's a welcome addition. Because it used to be carbon forks were only for racing, and now they can actually do things. So what do you think of this Utilifork trend? Is it for you? Am I crazy? Are you excited about it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like content like this, I'm talking about things that other bike channels are not addressing, consider supporting the channel via the PayPal, Patreon links, or by buying a supple t-shirt. And as always, keep the supple side down.